Cathie Wood of ARK Invest on the coming US manufacturing boom, of which I have little doubt Tesla will be one of the front runners, if not the dominant player.
We think we'll see a manufacturing boom in the United States for the first time really in 30 years. The rest of that time, certainly since China went into the WTO in the early 2000s, manufacturing has been effectively gutted from the United States. This is going to be a real turnaround, and we do think that this manufacturing, while of course it's going to increase employment to some extent, it is going to be highly automated. With AI, robotics, humanoid robots, and other robots. And we're probably going to become a more efficient manufacturer than China.
And why would the US go through a massive manufacturing boom? The answer to that question would be a competent leader, President Donald J. Trump, who understands how to spur manufacturing. For those who haven't been paying attention, some of the enormous proposals and new policies relating to corporate tax rates and, importantly, manufacturing are game changers. In particular, corporate tax rate cuts, which will affect every, wait for it, corporation, aka company, in the United States. And not just that, but 100% depreciation year one for machinery, equipment, aka the kind of stuff you need to manufacture things with. I'm not here to give you guys a tax lesson. If you understand depreciation, cool. If you don't, ask Grok to explain it. The short story here, so these changes create a massive incentive for companies who manufacture things to accelerate the build out of plants and facilities to manufacture things. Trump's 100% year one depreciation. This will be in place until the 1st of January in 2029. Any company that intended on building facilities, plants, manufacturing, whether it's vehicles, whether it's humanoid robots, whether it's anything at all, will be bending over backwards to bring forward plans to build facilities, to produce products, to fall within that deadline. From a Tesla investor's point of view, the timing could not be better. Tesla Cybertruck soon to enter production. 12 or so months from now, they're likely to be ramping at high volume, probably a year after that. A next-gen vehicle likely to be built on that same platform for consumers to follow, and massive scaling of Tesla's Optimus humanoid robot. Again, I remind you, Elon's 2025 CEO Performance Award, which Tesla shareholders are currently voting on, has a number of performance milestones required to unlock the final tranches, including 1 million Robotaxis operating. Another milestone requires Tesla having produced 20 million vehicles in its lifetime. Today, it's roughly at 8. Another 12 million vehicles, many of those will be produced in the US. 1 million humanoid robots. There has not been a better time for a company in the United States that manufactures objects to be aggressively scaling their manufacturing capacity. The next couple of years, again, the deadline, 1st of January 2029, between now and then, any manufacturing company with any sense will be moving at light speed to take full advantage. This is why Cathie Wood is predicting not only a massive manufacturing boom in the US, but even ultimately becoming a more efficient manufacturer than China. And by the way, just in case it needs pointing out, you know what will be really useful for the companies scrambling to scale their manufacturing capacity in the United States before this deadline? The companies wishing to purchase equipment involved in manufacturing their products before the January 1st, 2029 deadline. You know what would be great? Let's say, hypothetically, if a company could sell you a intelligent, useful humanoid robot before the 1st of January 2029 for you to fully depreciate instantly, as opposed to spreading that out over nearly 4 decades. This is going to be wild, folks. Here's more from Cathie Wood on growth, productivity, automation, humanoid robots, AI, and more.
Here is a timeline of innovation. And you can see it goes into the 1700s. And our chief futurist, Brett Winton, in conjunction with academics, pulled this together. And what you're seeing here is the impact of innovation on productivity. And you can see in this time, we've had 2 great eras. The first one was in the late 1800s, early 1900s, telephone, electricity, internal combustion engine, huge boost in GDP growth. And in fact, prior to that, for the 400 years prior to that, real GDP growth had been averaging about 0.6% per year. Very slow. After that, we went into a 125-year period of 3% real GDP growth. So a five-fold increase from 0.6 to 3%. You have to move forward to today to see multiple innovation platforms evolving at the same time. So for the first time in 125 years. This time there are 5 platforms, not 3 major platforms, and they involve 15 different technologies. This is very important in terms of how to research and analyze the world. It's not going to be by sector or industry anymore. It is going to be by technology, because technology is permeating every sector, every industry. And
Cathie Wood has made some important points here. Recall, Tesla is just a car company, according to literally every analyst who was covering the company, bar maybe 1 or 2 rare exceptions. Shout out to the likes of Andrea James. But this was the narrative we heard from all the dimwits covering Tesla for the better part of a decade, if not a decade and a half. Why? Because they were analysing the company by industry, trying to shove what was a technology company into an automotive company-shaped hole. Anything that wasn't directly automotive related was completely and utterly ignored, to their detriment. Tesla's overvalued, the valuation makes no sense, the competition's coming. It's just an internal combustion engine vehicle. Right? Wrong. These automotive analysts, well over a decade, failed to recognise that what Tesla was producing was a computer on wheels, completely different. It looks similar on the outside. Wheels, windows, doors. But internally, completely different technology. This is why there were so many massive misunderstandings, and just about everyone covering Tesla for more than a decade. The stock's massively overvalued. Tesla's worth XYZ car company combined. That doesn't make sense. And then, of course, the narrative from these morons was also, well, the competition's coming. As soon as these other just a car companies decide to produce just a car like Tesla does, well, obviously it's going to be very easy for them to make an electric car because it's just a car, right? Not a computer on wheels. Didn't age well. Boggles the mind that even today there are still people, many of them in fact, who are looking at Tesla through an industry-specific lens. Still just a car company. What about those gross automotive margins? Maybe they should advertise more to sell more of their cars. And ignoring what's happening with these multiple layered disruptive technologies stacking one on top of the other.
Blurring the lines between them. So you can see 5 here. We believe that the productivity uplift here is going to be so strong during the next 5 to 10 years. And I think President Trump's tax package is going to turbocharge this.
She ain't wrong. Incentives matter. And Trump's tax package really is rocket fuel for manufacturing. It's going to pull forward a lot of the build-out timing of new facilities to produce new products and new technologies at massive scale. Never mind the corporate tax cuts as well.
Real GDP growth will accelerate from that 3% where it has been for the last 125 years towards 7% plus. And we think that could be conservative. That's a little more than 2 times as opposed to the 5-fold uplift before. So get ready. But the other thing that we think is going to happen is that inflation is going to surprise significantly on the low side of expectations. We would not be surprised to see 0% inflation or less as we exit the tariffs here and the way they're getting through the indexes and move forward into this new age of technological explosion. One of the reasons for this explosion is not just the 5 platforms, so I should have named them: robotics, energy storage, artificial intelligence, blockchain technology, and multi-omics sequencing.
For those of you playing along at home, Tesla directly all over 3 of those 5. Robotics, artificial intelligence, and energy storage, which may explain why those looking at Tesla as if they're a car company with their industry analysis glasses on fail to recognize what's happening.
5 major platforms involving 15 different technologies. And here you can see why we think we're going to see explosive growth. It is the convergence between and among these technologies. So just to give you 2 examples of convergence. In the autonomous mobility space, that is the convergence of robotics, energy storage, and artificial intelligence. Now, each one of those technologies or platforms is following its own S-curve, and we are moving into the sweet spot of the S-curve now that autonomous taxis are debuting in the case of Tesla in Austin and San Francisco. Waymo's been there for a while. Just think about that. One S-curve feeding another S-curve, feeding another S-curve. That's why we're going to see explosive growth.
Notice how Cathie Wood said, just think about that. Therein lies the problem. Most people don't think about that, because if they were to actually consider the implications here, S-curve, feeding an S-curve, feeding an S-curve, multiple massive disruptive technologies feeding into one another, were they to actually think about this and the implications, it's possible they may have spent the last X number of years buying Tesla stock with every spare cent. Yet, I can think of many examples just in the last few months of people who actually sold Tesla stock, and not just sold it, but told people they were selling it, or even advised others to do the same. Just skipped ahead a little bit. Turns out Cathie Wood had more to say about Orange Man Bad.
And I think the tax package, especially the corporate tax cuts, which most people haven't focused on, full depreciation of structures first year they're put in service, full expensing of equipment, R&D domestic and software in year one. These are huge, huge incentives to invest now. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen.
Obvious things are obvious. If I had a magic wand and I, with a flick of a wrist, could conjure up the perfect scenario, the ideal set of circumstances for Tesla to thrive as they shift into a transport as a service and then labor and intelligence as a service company, if there were no limitations whatsoever, I could do anything. After waving around the magic wand, we'd end up with something almost identical to the actual current situation in reality right now. Tesla's running away with autonomy. The only company with a general solution and scale and a massive cost advantage. It's G. It's already done. Come back in 10 years and I'll be happy to say, see, I called it. Obvious things are obvious. It's so clear. But autonomy is just the appetizer. The Optimus humanoid robot project. That's where things get nutty. Don't get me wrong. Robotaxi autonomy is going to be ridiculous. Dwarf Tesla's entire existing business in terms of revenue and profits. But Optimus is on a whole other level. And just as Tesla's finalizing design of their dedicated Robotaxi, the Cybercab, and likewise, finalizing Gen 3 of the Optimus humanoid robot, the first that will go into mass production. Just as this is happening, if companies left, right and center, dropping like flies, giving up on autonomy, claiming that they intend on possibly maybe having some kind of weird Eiffel Tower situation where they partner with multiple other entities to somehow deliver autonomy while competing against Tesla with a massive cost disadvantage, good luck. They're all waving the white flag on autonomy. And then you have the Trump tax package, which massively incentivizes huge and immediate investment between now and the beginning of 2029. Wild incentives to build structures, plants, factories, to install equipment and manufacture at massive scale. This truly is the perfect setup. With or without tax incentives, Tesla was going to scale their capacity, ramp Cybercab as fast as fucking possible, likewise the humanoid robot. But now doing so will effectively require far less capital. It just doesn't get any better than this. Want more content? Early access? A bunch of perks? Click the links in the pinned comment. AG1 is awesome. I've been taking it daily now for more than 3 years. It's a great way to fill in nutritional gaps. It's packed full of vitamins, minerals, and whole food source nutrients, plus has prebiotics, probiotics, and adaptogens to improve gut health, regularity, and help your body handle stress. I'm always looking for an edge to help me feel and perform my best, which is why I haven't missed a day of AG1 for more than 3 years. Just try it and see how you feel. Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR and get yourself a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 travel packs.